for 6.3, because you know 6.3 is made up of 631 for wastewater and 632 for ambient water quality. We need some part of that indicator that will enable us to show cause and effect. So that's why that's been included in the next round of data collection. There are other areas that we haven't managed to capture under the indicator, which are nevertheless very important, including sort of wastewater running off from diffuse sources, such as Jean-Marc was saying about agricultural pollution, and also, of course, runoff from urban areas. This is very much, it's on the agenda, we know about it, but we have to work out a way of bringing that into the methodologies. One of the biggest challenges has been disaggregating household wastewater sources from other sources, because, as many of you from the utilities know, we don't always have a good disaggregation between utilities users who are households and/or commercial institutions. One other area that we need to do a little bit more work on, and again for the earlier estimates, was the definition of what does safely treated wastewater mean. And currently, as it stands, we've assumed, in the absence of data, that if wastewater receives up to secondary treatment, then it's adequately treated. And of course, if it's treated adequately to national standards, it passed the tests. There is evidence, of course, that we have to do a bit more analysis on that to see whether that assumption it stands, and that will probably be done a bit more on a regional basis to understand the issues. And I think I've just got two more short points to make. We did actually work out a progressive monitoring framework for wastewater, so that those countries who have very little data or minimal resources to collect this information can actually start on the monitoring ladder. So if any of you are interested, we're happy to share with you our proposals for that and to see whether it makes good sense for you as policymakers and decision makers as useful data for your local level analysis. So I think in sum, there's quite a lot of work still to do. It's an ongoing process, it's iterative. We're mindful of the fact that we want to use a lot more data from utilities and regulators, and we very much sort of recognise the good examples in the region, particularly the NDG Plus initiative here, which has been a great source of data, and we hope that that's extended and expanded. And of course, finally, the point about reuse. We really want, in a water scarce region, to understand and use the SDG to get more information, more data on water scarcity. And UN Habitat, together with one of the other UN agencies, UNU Flores, has worked on a wastewater reuse effectiveness index, which we've also, if you're interested, there'll be something on that in our session tomorrow. But that's also looking at the political and social aspects of wastewater reuse as well as the technical sides. So I think I'll stop there. Well, I think I've covered most things, but thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Graham. And I find it very, very exciting to hear about the work that's happening on reuse under 631. I mean, I think that shows how important it is that we try to tailor these global indicators to make them useful for countries. And this point of reuse is something that came out very strongly from this region in particular. And so it's why we're putting so much emphasis on that. Okay, now I'd like to hand the floor over to Jean-Marc Flores, who is the Regional Program Coordinator for the Near East and North Africa from FAO. And he'll be talking to us about indicators 641 on water use efficiency and 642 on water stress. Jean-Marc.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have these two indicators that are here to inform on target 6.4. And when I discuss SDG, I tend to read again the target, because it's important that we link well our indicators to the targets. This target has three major objectives. By 2030, substantially increase water use efficiency across all sectors, ensure sustainable withdrawal and supply of fresh water to address water scarcity, and substantially reduce the number of people suffering from water scarcity. For the moment, we have two indicators that cover the first and the second. We are very much willing to engage into finding a way to measure the number of people suffering from water scarcity, but that's not on the table for the moment. So FAO has been tasked with following up the development of the work on 641 and 642 for two reasons. One is that because agriculture is the major stakeholder in water scarcity business, if I can say so. And the other reason, which is related, is that it's now more than 25 years that we maintain the Aquastat, the global database on water resource and use. It's a little bit the equivalent of the JMP for water supply and sanitation. And we've collected a lot of information from countries. We have correspondence in countries, etc. These two indicators are very different. 6.642, water scarcity, level of water stress, is a tier 1 indicator. It existed already at the time of MDG. We have a lot of good information, and the work here is on refining this indicator. 641 is a much more complicated indicator. It measures progress towards efficient water use across sectors. That means that we have to dig into individual progress in different sectors, and also a machinery to take into account transfers of water from one sector to the other. It was approved as a SDG indicator only 1.5 years ago. It's a tier 2, and we are now making efforts to move it to tier 1. In 2019, we very much align with what you have seen in terms of the global program, and the focus is on building a national capacity, national ownership. For the two indicators, this means that we are organizing sub-regional trainings, national trainings, workshops. We strengthen the network of champions and resource countries. In the past, through Aquastat, we were focusing a lot on agriculture. Now we need also to cover other sectors. We set up on-demand help desk support, and then we reorganize also the Aquastat database and the reporting mechanism so that we can integrate the new indicator 641. That's valid for the two indicators. Then the two indicators have specificities on which we are still working. In particular, we are refining the methodology to support countries in assessing 6.1, and in particular in a guideline for defining the agronomical parameters to calculate agricultural water use efficiency. This is a tricky one, and today and tonight we don't have time to go into the details, but you have to be very cautious when measuring water use efficiency in agriculture, and that is why we develop such guidelines. Same thing for data disaggregation at country level, because we need to have the data not only by sector but also by river basin. And we link with efforts to monitor water productivity in real time through remote sensing. The water stress indicator, as I told you, is an old indicator, but we are here making a lot of efforts to better integrating environmental flow requirements in the assessment. In the past, we were measuring how much water there is, how much water different sectors take, and the ratio between one and the other would give you the percentage of water that's used. Now we have developed last year environmental flow requirement guidelines so that the environmental flow can be taken into account in the water stress. Again, I don't have much time to go into the detail, but I can assure you this is a tricky one. We work with environmental specialists to make sure that we propose something that is robust, that is accepted and universally recognized. Last thing, we also, this is across FAO, we have 22 indicators. They obviously mostly deal with SDG 2 on food security, sustainable agriculture, etc. And then a few others like 6. And for each of them, we have developed e-learning material, and now we organize webinars based on these e-learnings to enhance the capacity of national teams. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean-Marc. Jean-Marc mentioned Tier 1 and Tier 2. I don't know if you all know what that means, but if you think of the Interagency Expert Group for SEG indicators as a dissertation committee, getting Tier 1 and Tier 2 status means that they've accepted your dissertation. They've accepted the methodology as following international standards. And I'm very pleased, patting myself in the back and all of us in the back, that 2 years ago we had 6 indicators out of 11 that were Tier 3, which means our methodologies were not accepted as proven yet. And only two short years later, following the piloting and the peer review process we went through and the revisions, every one of them, all 11, are either Tier 1 or Tier 2. And that's the sort of thing the initiative is trying to do, is kind of build that robust body of expertise. So now I'd like to hand over to the third agency who's with us now. So coming from UNESCO, from the Regional Bureau for Science for the Arab States, we have Abdul Aziz Zaki, who's going to tell us about Indicator 652 on transboundary cooperation.
Thank you, William. First of all, I would like to convey the apology of Ms. Alice O'Reilly for not being able to be with you tonight in this session to present the report of 6.5.2. As you may know, that target 6.5 is mainly monitored by 2 indicators. One, 6.5.1, is about IWRM implementation, and 6.5.2 is about cooperation, transboundary cooperation. And within the whole 2030 agenda, transboundary water resources cooperation was not referred except only in indicator 6.5.2. As you may know, 60% of the world's fresh water is transboundary, 153 countries sharing water resources. This represents 40% of the global population, 50% of the surface land of the whole globe. This is why transboundary cooperation is a precondition for sustainable development and the peace stability due to its social, economic, environmental, and political interdependencies. Early in 2017, invitation was extended to the 153 countries of transboundary water to report on their transboundary water cooperation. By March 2019, 107 response received. According to this feedback from the countries, it was noticed that the indicator is available in 67 countries. As you may know, the indicator has 2 components, one for the river and lake basin transboundary and another for the aquifers. And it measures the proportion of the transboundary area within a country covered by operational arrangement. And operational arrangement, it means bilateral, trilateral treaty, convention, agreement, or any official agreement that provide more cooperation. From the feedbacks of the 107 countries, it was pointed out that 17 countries all over the world, they have 100% operational arrangement for their transboundary water resources. 12 countries has nothing done no arrangements for their transboundary. In the region, the indicator is existing in Morocco, Tunisia, Iraq, and Jordan, and Qatar. Tunisia is the highest, 80% of its transboundary water has an arrangement, and the other are less than 30%. From this exercise, it is obvious that cooperation over river and lake basin transboundary is widespread, and the cooperation over aquifer, groundwater aquifer, is still lacking, except in the Nubian sandstone case and the Northwest Sahara aquifer. For the second, as William said, the second phase is the second reporting phase is coming soon. It will be during the period 2020 to 2022. Invitation will be sent to the countries by early 2020, and the deadline will be June 2020. For sure, the first reporting phase generated information and data from by the countries, and there's an effort of communication, and even further analysis is expected in 2019. Also, the first phase outputs will be shared with all countries, and highlighting the use of the results for the activities under the UN Economic Commission for Europe Water Convention and UNESCO International Hydrological Program. For the second phase, and there is an effort to update the tools. This includes revised step-by-step methodology to create more user-friendly documents, improve reporting template by simplifying the questions, and there is a proposal to develop a guide to help member states to report and to answer on the template or the questionnaire questions. This for sure will ensure consistency of the feedbacks of the country's feedbacks from the beginning. During 2019, more interaction between the custodians agencies, UNESCO, and Economic Commission of Europe will continue with the countries. Last year there were 3 workshops, and it's planned in the 2090 3 sub-regional workshops in Asia in June 2019, in Central America in September 2019, and Europe in October 2019. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the agency speakers. So I would now like to move on to the panel discussion. For this, I will hand over the floor to our moderator, Mrs. Zia Khayat from ESCWA.